When you're ready, you just press that right button. Is everyone ready? Okay. Are you all ready?
Are you guys ready? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today as we share some exciting news. I am joined by United States Representative Kathy Manning, who serves North Carolina's 6th District. When the COVID-19 pandemic began, we saw early that we would need to enhance and expand our efforts to eliminate barriers to students receiving a high-quality education. We also knew that we had to quickly implement effective strategies to minimize the loss of learning. Studies indicated that frequent one-to-one tutoring with research-proven instruction was especially effective in increasing the learning rates of underperforming students. One particular study found that intensive tutoring had major positive impacts on math gains among high school students. Utilizing this information, GCS created a high-dosage, high-intensity tutoring model that has garnered national attention. Currently, our high-dosage tutoring program employs approximately 564 tutors, serving more than 3,900 students. As of last week, students received more than 33,000 hours of tutoring thus far. Our highly successful learning hubs were created as an extension of our tutoring efforts and have evolved into an innovative model that can be scaled to support schools across the nation. While we are proud of what we've been able to accomplish, we know that we must do more, which is why I'm thrilled that Representative Manning is with us to make a wonderful announcement. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Kathy Manning. I'm so proud to represent North Carolina's 6th Congressional District, and I am thrilled to be here today with Superintendent Sharon Contreras to announce $2 million of federal funding to support Guilford County Schools' intensive tutoring program. We are just thrilled to be able to support the incredible program you have put together. A preliminary report from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction shows that this pandemic had a negative impact on all students for all grades in almost every subject. And the report makes clear North Carolina students have struggled with learning loss caused by school closures and lack of access to reliable internet connection during the COVID-19 pandemic. The intensive tutoring program provides Guilford County students with the resources they need to recover from lost time in the classroom while continuing to build on their skills and their knowledge. Guilford County Schools tutoring program currently employs, and I think you said 500, my number was lower, but 500 plus tutors, and serves an estimated 3,900 students. These tutors, by the way, are a mix of graduate assistants from UNCG and North Carolina A&T State University, Guilford County Schools high school students, and Guilford County Schools teachers and community partners. So we've got a wide and diverse group of highly qualified tutors. This $2 million will allow Guilford County Schools to fund more graduate assistants, expand tutoring subject offerings, and ultimately serve more students. I was able to secure this funding for the program through the omnibus government funding bill that was signed into law by President Biden earlier this month. And it was a little bit more than that. Last year, when I learned that federal funding would be available on a competitive basis for community projects, I reached out to our mayors, our city managers, our school leaders, and our social service agencies to encourage them to send my office applications for community projects that were the things that were most needed and would have the greatest impact on our communities. My office received a variety of great applications, and I have to say, and I told Dr. Contreras earlier, when I read their application, I was thrilled because it was so well done and so clearly addressed a critical need for our students and for our community. When we got all of our applications, my office worked really hard to determine which ones we were most likely to get approved, which ones would address the greatest need. And then we submitted them, and then I advocated to our House leadership to make sure that the heads of the relevant committees understood how great our projects were, how much we needed them, and what a difference they would make to the people of North Carolina's 6th District. I am pleased that our collaboration with our communities and our hard work in Congress paid off. Last year, as you know, Democrats passed the American Rescue Plan to help get shots in arms and get schools the PPPs and PPEs that they needed so they could reopen safely. And I want to commend you on all the work that you, your team, your teachers have done to get our kids back in school safely and get them back on track. And now, as we have our students back in classroom, it's more important than ever that we invest in their success. And with this funding, more students in Guilford County will have access to the intensive one-on-one educational support that will really make a difference for them. As a member of the House Education and Labor Committee, I am firmly committed to supporting our public schools and boosting academic achievement for all our learners. I'm proud to have secured this funding in collaboration, as I said, with such a great application, so that we can fund good education and support our students. Thank you for being here today. Thank you again for all the work that you and your whole team all across the school system do, and best wishes from North Carolina's 6th Congressional District.
Thank you. I just want to thank Representative Manning again for her hard work during this process and for thinking of the Guilford County schools. Congresswoman Manning was instrumental in making this possible by personally inviting Guilford County schools to apply for the community project funding dollars. We are excited to put these dollars to work and begin assisting thousands more students through high dosage tutoring. The $2 million will allow us to serve more students, fund more graduate assistants from local universities who will serve as tutors, and it will allow us to expand the subjects in which we offer tutoring. It's truly an exciting time in Guilford County schools as we continue to offer new and innovative ways to accelerate learning. I will now open it up to any questions that you might have for me and Representative Manning.
And please, for any questions, just raise your hand and I'll bring the mic.
I wanted to ask if you could say a little bit more about what high dosage tutoring is, how much, what hours, how does that work? Why did you define it that way?
Okay, Ms. Freeman, could you speak to that? She is in charge of our tutoring
We'll
program.
bring her to the podium. This is Dr. Freeman, and she is over
And I
our tutoring
apologize,
program.
Dr. Freeman. You have earned it.
Good afternoon. High dosage tutoring consists of tutoring at least 30 minutes to an hour, so it depends on the grade level of the student, at least 3 times a week. One thing that we really encourage all of our schools is that all of our tutors are consistent, so they come to the school on a consistent basis and they meet with the same students on a consistent basis. And so what that looks like is that 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on the grade level, and at least 3 times a week.
Dr. Freeman, could you say and spell your first and last name and your title, please?
Yes. Dr. Faith Freeman, so Faith Freeman, and I am Director of STEM, and I oversee our tutoring initiative.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, you guys mentioned that the tutoring services will be expanded to offer more subjects. What will those subjects be?
So currently, we started, it's just some historical, we started with math, specifically secondary math, so middle and high. We were able to expand this year into our elementary schools and also open up early literacy. And so with this, we would like to open up literacy. We have some pockets of literacy tutoring in our secondary schools, so opening it up to our secondary schools and literacy, and then also expanding in science, and then supporting some of our high school students in science, and also some of those writing skills to prepare them for college.
This is for Dr. Contreras. I hate to ask this question, but I got to. We're hearing about edibles being distributed at Western Gifford High School this week, and multiple students had adverse reactions after ingesting it. What do you know about it, and what actions are you taking?
As I told Mr. Harden earlier, we cannot comment on individual students who might have suffered medical emergencies.
Dr. Contreras, Justin Channel 12. When do you expect this money to be injected into the budget here?
So I'll ask Representative Manning to respond.
That is a great question. I know the bill was just passed, I think it was last week when we were in Congress. I will find out as soon as I get back there. I'm going back Monday. I'll let you know when you can expect the check. How's that?
Thank you. But we are ready to start spending as soon as we receive the check. We've been recruiting tutors, and we've been recruiting retired teachers, additional graduate assistants, and this has helped many of our college students who are former Guilford County students to remain in college, to go to graduate school, to stay in graduate school. They were also impacted by the pandemic, so this additional funding allows them to tutor students while also continuing their graduate school work. It also has provided us with a pool of potential teachers. Many of them had not thought about going into teaching, but are now interested in teaching because of this one-to-one tutoring initiative, in some cases 1-to-3 tutoring initiative. So it is mutually beneficial.
Any other tutoring questions?
Ms. Manning, are you, do you anticipate this will be the sole, thing for Guilford County Schools out of this omnibus bill, or, might you be back in a week or so with something else?
This actually this was a part of a community project. We, as I think I described earlier, we were informed this time last year that we could submit a certain number of community projects. We have just been told by leadership we are going to be able to submit community projects again. The information will be out on our website as soon as we get it. We think the information will be on our website next week, and the applications will be due by April 15th. We're already reaching out to all our cities, our school systems, and our social service agencies to let them know that we're going to have the same process for next year. So we look forward to receiving great applications again, and I will again do everything I can to advocate for our projects to make sure that North Carolina's 6th district gets its fair share of projects.
I think Representative Manning, she was also asking, is there other educational funding in the bill?
In the omnibus bill, I have to check on that. The omnibus was the general budget to keep the government open, and these community projects were put in there because we had been trying to get them funded for so long. I'm not certain if there's more educational money in there. I'll have to check. We know that in the infrastructure bill, of course, we got a lot of money for infrastructure. And one of the big pieces that's covered in the infrastructure bill is broadband. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the hurdles that so many of our students had to deal with during the pandemic was that they couldn't connect to the internet. And we learned that lesson during the pandemic. I know it was something that you dealt with, Dr. Contreras, having to send school buses with hotspots around. And so there is a lot of money for broadband in the infrastructure bill, and that will help our educational institutions. It will help our students also.
I believe there's additional funding for Title I and for IDEA. And
That's correct.
I don't have the exact numbers or how it impacts us, but we do know that the census seems to have undercounted students throughout the nation's large districts and the most vulnerable districts. So while there appears to be an increase in funding, the large districts are concerned that we won't see the increase in the ways we expected because of the undercounting in the census, which appears to reduce the number of students living in poverty. As you know, we were trying to collect census data during the pandemic, and Guilford County Schools played a huge role in that throughout the county by knocking on doors. Our translators knocked on doors, our social workers. As parents came to the schools to pick up devices and books, we helped them complete the census application. But across the nation, there seems to be a decline in poverty count, and that's a problem for us.
There are also some other pockets of funding in the bill. I know we have an increase in Pell Grants. I believe it's in the omnibus. And while it's not the increase I would have hoped we would have had for Pell Grants, it is an increase. And we want to do everything we can to make college more affordable. I also believe that there's funding in there for additional investment in apprenticeship, career and technical training programs. One of the areas that we focus on in Education and Labor Committee is workforce development. It's an area that we need an enormous amount of work on in our community, because we now know that it's very difficult to get a good paying job if you don't have some post-secondary education. And I know you've worked hard working with colleges and community colleges to help our students get a start on envisioning career opportunities that might be of interest to them when they're in high school, because we know that the more our students can envision a career for themselves when they're in high school, the more likely they are to be able to follow the track they need and get the education and training they need to have those good careers. So that's an area we have focused on in Education and Labor Committee. I'd like to mention one other area that we've focused on, and that is mental health wellness in schools. We know that this pandemic has resulted in a dramatic and frightening increase in mental health issues and also eating disorders for our students. And one of the bills that I have introduced in Congress would be to introduce a mental health wellness component for the wellness program that's also in Title I schools. This would bring more resources to schools to help deal with mental health issues, and hopefully it will also bring in the kinds of resources that would allow us to have more mental health professionals in our schools. I know that's in addition to everything else, those are issues that our students are dealing with and our teachers are dealing with. And so it's something that we are acutely aware of in Congress, another area that we're working on.
Can you say the name of the bill one more?
It is the Improving Mental Health Wellness in Schools bill. I will tell you, all those great acronyms they come up with for bills in Congress are not so easy to come up with, so we finally just went with just a bill that describes exactly what we're going for, or a name that describes what we're going for in that bill.
I actually meant the omnibus thing that you mentioned. I just want to make sure I was Googling it properly.
Oh no, the bill that I've just described is something we're currently working on in the Education and Labor Committee.
Yes, I mean from earlier, the bill that contains the funding, the $2 million.
That is the omnibus bill that was just passed?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if there's, just as far as the title.
Is there a name for the omnibus bill? I am going to have to check for you on that. I think it went to the floor as the omnibus. It was a compilation of lots of different pieces.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.